Good morning. So I'm PJ Slinger. I'm the editor of Freethought Today. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. As a side note, this week marked the 10th anniversary of me working at FFRF, so I'm kind of excited about that. Anyway, being part of being editor is that I get to help read and judge the student essay contests, and then I publish them in the paper. So FFRF has 5 student essay competitions every year. There's one for college-bound high school students, one for ongoing college students, one for Black, Indigenous students of color, which we'll hear from today, and that acknowledges a minority within a minority, one for graduate students, and one for law students. Together with the Student Activist Awards, FFRF invests an average of at least $125,000 a year in scholarships for the next generation of freethinkers and secularists. At FFRF, thank you. We think that the encouragement and recognition we provide young freethinkers is one of our most important projects. Today, you'll get to hear from 3 of the students who were among the top winners in this year's essay competition for BIPOC students. They were asked to write on the topic of how white Christian nationalism endangers my rights. They'll be reading their winning essays. I'll introduce each of the students one at a time when they come up. So first off, we have Jaianah Hightower, who took 5th place in our contest this year and earned $1,500. She's from Maryland and attends Morgan State University in Baltimore. On the bio for the essay, she wrote, "Books were my first escape. That love for books grew into a fascination with the world beyond America's borders, a desire to see and serve more than what I knew. By 10, I had witnessed the fragility of life when my mother faced a near-fatal childbirth. At 12, I was nearly called to deliver my sister at home. These moments lit a fire in me. By 15, I knew I would become an OB/GYN. I'm pursuing my bachelor's science degree with full focus on medical school. My goal is clear: to provide compassionate care to women everywhere and eventually take that mission across the globe, blending my love for travel with my purpose to heal." Please welcome Jaianah Hightower.
Hello, I'm Jaianah. I wrote my essay about that. It's called "Just Existing is Resistance." I wake up in the morning and breathe. I look at myself in the mirror and wonder what today will bring. The sun rises, but peace doesn't. When I walk down the street, I carry more than a body. I carry generations of struggle. A patchwork of identities that make me a walking target. Black, woman, queer, non-religious. To whom do I pose a threat by simply existing? The answer stares back. White Christian nationalism. Among the many freedoms under siege, reproductive rights cut the deepest into my life, my future, and my body. White Christian nationalism does not just oppose abortion, it seeks to control people like me under the illusion of morality. It wraps misogyny and racism in scripture, turning faith into a weapon against my autonomy. They say it's about life, but whose life? Certainly not mine. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, I felt the ground shift beneath me. I wasn't just watching a law fall, I was watching my rights unravel. If I were to become pregnant by force, I could be denied the right to choose. My trauma would be politicized. My body would become evidence in someone else's moral crusade. And because I'm Black, statistics show I'd be more likely to die from that pregnancy with less access to care, less empathy, and less justice. White Christian nationalism does not just criminalize abortion, it criminalizes my survival. The danger isn't just in our courtrooms or churches, it's in policies that reach into my clinic visits, my relationships, and my dreams. It's in lawmakers who speak of God's will while stripping away my humanity. It's in forced births, denied care, and silenced voices. It's in the way they paint people like me as immoral for daring to demand control over our bodies. But I refuse to be silent. As a non-religious person, my resistance begins in truth-telling. I speak, I write, and I vote. I challenge the narrative that morality must be Christian or white. I support organizations that provide reproductive care and education, especially in communities of color. I hold conversations that others are afraid to have, even if my voice shakes. And I imagine a country where freedom isn't conditional, where rights aren't reserved for the few. And I imagine a world where I'm not a threat for simply breathing. Until then, I'll keep breathing, keep walking, and keep fighting. Because just existing in America is an act of defiance, and I'm not done existing yet. Thank you.
So next up, we have Gabrielle Williams, who was our third place winner this year. FFRF awarded her $2,500. She is from Pennsylvania and attends Howard University in Washington, D.C., with plans to major in technology and social impact. On the bio for her essay, she wrote, "I graduated high school as valedictorian, reflecting my dedication to academic excellence and leadership. On campus, I'm actively involved in the Howard Water and Environment Association, the National Society of Black Engineers, and the Howard Anime Club. I have interned at the National Security Agency, gaining hands-on experience. This opportunity strengthened my commitment to ethical technology and public service. I was also honored with the African American Recognition Award from Big Future, recognizing my academic achievements. Please welcome Gabrielle Williams."
Hello, everyone. Today I'll be reading my speech titled "When Unholy Nationalism Wears a Cross." When our school held its first ever Black History Month assembly, I felt a flicker of hope. As a Black student in a predominantly white conservative school district, I felt isolated, unheard, and out of place. Maybe this was just a step toward understanding, but as students were dismissed from the auditorium, I heard laughing. What a waste of time. That was so dumb. Why do we even need that? These weren't careless comments. They reflected a deeper hostility toward confronting systematic inequality. What they didn't know was that the assembly was created by PACT, standing for People of All Cultures and Colors Together, a club I co-founded. We built PACT to give students of color a space to share what we face every day: microaggressions, racism, isolation, and the desire to be heard and understood. The assembly was our attempt to build empathy. Instead, it exposed how much of it was missing. Later that week, I watched a Black classmate being harassed in the cafeteria. His hair wasn't done, wearing his hood to hide it. A white student kept pulling it off, laughing and mocking him. Sorry. No teacher intervened, no consequences followed. That silence, the failure to protect or affirm us, is how white Christian nationalism operates, not only through policies, but through culture, permission, and erasure. Many of the students who mocked DEI efforts came from homes and churches steeped in Christian nationalism ideology. These communities preached colorblindness over equity, insist America was founded as a Christian nation, and claim racism ended with the Civil Rights Act. To them, DEI wasn't about justice. It's a threat to their worldview. But DEI isn't about guilt. It's about recognition and repair. It ensures that all students are seen, heard, and given equal opportunities. White Christian nationalism, rooted in myths of divine favor and American exceptionalism, resists this entirely. It tells young white Christians they are the true Americans and that telling the full truth about our history is unpatriotic. This isn't abstract. When legislators influenced by Christian nationalism ban critical race theory or cut DEI funding, control what stories are allowed in schools like mine, they tell students our experiences are too controversial or simply irrelevant. As a non-religious student, I find strength not in a holy book, but in honesty. White Christian nationalism is not fringe. It's a powerful force shaping education, policy, and culture in ways that endanger civil rights and silence marginalized communities. To combat white Christian nationalism, my first strategy is storytelling. That means writing essays like this, speaking at board meetings, and breaking the silence that protects discrimination. Second, I believe in coalition building. I've joined forces with LGBTQ+ students, immigrant peers, and white allies to push for inclusive policies and defend DEI. I reject religion not because I reject community, but because I believe community should be built on mutual respect, not divine hierarchy. We don't need dogma, we need dignity. DEI isn't dumb, it's necessary. And I'll keep fighting for it without scripture, without shame, and without fear. Thank you.
And finally, we have Mekah'E La Clair, who was our first place finisher in this year's BIPOC contest. She earned a $3,500 cash award from FFRF. And we first need to apologize for a slight typo in the program where we spelled her last name with L-A instead of L-E. So we're sorry about that. She is from Washington State and attends the DigiPen Institute of Technology in Redmond, Washington, and is majoring in digital art and animation. On the bio for her essay, she wrote, "I am a member of the Ponca tribe of Oklahoma. I'm an artist who primarily creates cartoons, but I dabble in amateur puppet making as well. My goal is to establish myself as an indigenous voice in the animation industry." Please welcome Mekah'E La Clair.
Hello. My name is actually pronounced Mekah'E, but that's okay. I will be reading my essay titled "The Symbiotic Relationship Between White Supremacy and Christian Nationalism." For centuries, Indigenous women have been denied bodily autonomy. We have been mass raped and forcibly sterilized by white colonizers who awarded themselves jurisdiction over our bodies. This, alongside other barbaric actions performed against my people, was justified under the guise of manifest destiny, otherwise defined as violent, systemic oppression in the name of the Christian God. White Christian nationalism is, to me, indistinguishable from the fundamental American ideology that bred such abhorrent institutions as the Atlantic slave trade and state-sanctioned genocide against the indigenous population. These systems were founded in the belief that Black and Indigenous people are subhuman races, that we are incompatible with the superior European and Christian values of our oppressors. I see this same belief reflected in the modern battle against reproductive rights. Indigenous women who have safely practiced abortion since time immemorial are a uniquely vulnerable group within the discourse. Indigenous women are 2.5 times more likely to be raped than women of another race. We suffer rates of sexual violence so excessive, numerous coalitions are dedicated to providing support and resources to Indigenous victims specifically. Indigenous people who reside on reservations have limited access to sexual education programs and contraceptives to begin with, further increasing the likelihood of an unwanted pregnancy. The argument for rescinding reproductive rights is reliant on the belief that abortions, and by some interpretations contraceptives, are forbidden within the laws of Christianity. Any educated American, however, would be quick to point out that our Constitution cites the freedom to practice any religion, within the very First Amendment, no less. Therefore, it would be entirely unconstitutional to force the American public into obeying the rules of a religion that they do not subscribe to. As an Indigenous person, this debate is personal to me because of the historical context of Christianity within my community. For generations, my people were subjected to the forced compliance of a foreign religion. Our own spiritual beliefs and practices were outlawed, deemed primitive in comparison to the faith practiced by the European settlers. This is why the recent uptick in white Christian nationalism has struck a chord with me and other Black and Indigenous people. History is repeating itself, and it seems as if only minority communities like my own are able to recognize the pattern. It's my belief that the greatest strategy against white Christian nationalism is to be politically active. I stay up to date with local elections and familiarize myself with the policies of my representatives. Many politicians campaign outright on a platform of Christian nationalism, but others more subtly ingrain those same views into their positions. This is why it's crucial to thoroughly research the proposals of anyone running for office. Voting is imperative to making my voice heard. I express my secular beliefs with the same vigor and intensity as my Christian counterparts. Alongside my community, I have the power to remind members of this ideology that they're not the only ones who can unite towards a cause. Thank you.